twice.
The time by Jamaica Mountain Peak Golden Turmeric Latte is
12 p.m.
It's Tuesday, April 23, 2024. Welcome to CVM News at Noon. I'm Nika Lewis. As the ongoing saga pertaining to the Director of Public Prosecutions continues to unravel, critics continue to weigh in. Speaking on lead story last evening, two attorneys reasoned, contrary to the Attorney General's position, there is no ambiguity in the ruling, and the court's position is that former DPP Llewellyn has no right to the office.
There's no ambiguity. The court found that the appointment, a second extension of the DPP's tenure was null, void, and without legal effect. Where is the ambiguity? There's absolutely none. This government, I have been saying this for a long time, has been strikingly failing on governance. As a Jamaican, I am offended that our government could be making us look like we are what they call a banana republic. This kind of slapdash treatment of constitutional issues is nothing short of just vulgarity.
Daniel Archer, Principal Director of the National Integrity Action, the NIA, adds the office of the DPP, the highest legal office in the country, appears to now be politicized, which does not bode well, she says, for its integrity.
In my almost 20 years of practice, I have never seen the office so politicized. And I think the effect of that on governance, the effect on that, on the confidence that people will have in the institution is something to be concerned about. The office of the DPP is the chief prosecutor.
Who is also a political commentator, then seconded the call from the opposition PNP for the Attorney General and the Justice Minister to resign based on their conduct in this matter. Ms. Archer also questioned if the public still trusts these authorities. Found hope in Hopewell, Hanover, as residents laud police for a recent gun find. The reassurance of safety follows the recent opening of the Hopewell police station. Justice of the Peace Derek Wright says this is a welcomed change, accompanied by a sense of relief for the residents.
Since the opening of the police station, the space feels more comfortable. The citizens feel more free to move about, and we can see the level of criminal activity decline just because of the presence of the police in the area. My only setback is that I wouldn't mind if they get an extra vehicle that they can do more patrolling. I went as far as New Mills, and the citizens down there is so pleased to have police patrolling as far as New Mills. I'm so glad because we as a citizen want to live free and know that our space are limited amount of these illegal firearms and ammunition in our space. Now, the police occupy information. It also done so quietly. I never heard about it until early this morning. And again, I must say thanks to the police and congrats to execute a job well done.
The creation of the long overdue Artisan Village in Falmouth, Trelawney is believed to be the renaissance of Jamaica's arts and craft, highlighting local products in the tourism sector. The marquee attraction at the Hampden Wharf has been officially opened. Celine Campbell tells us more.
A project like this should not take as long as it has taken us to do.
That's according to Prime Minister Andrew Holness. He was referring to the long-awaited Artisan Village, opened recently along the corridors of the Falmouth Pier in Trelawney. In 2016, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett announced with much fanfare his plans to construct the first-ever Jamaican Artisan Village. The village promised 300 stores selling craft and other indigenous products. It would also feature traditional cuisine and live entertainment, all under one roof. The village, set to open first in 2020, was stalled due to the pandemic. However, another opening was promised in the first quarter of the 2021-2022 fiscal year. But it was not officially opened until Friday, April 19, 2024.
Capital allocations. If you look at the budget that was recently read and you see what has been reserved for capital expenditure, it's larger than what we have reserved decades before. The question is, how fast can we convert the capital allocation in the budget into the things that really matter? When it took form in 2016, it had to go through all kinds of processes. And now, in 2024, 8 years later, we are here opening.
The Prime Minister admits productivity in getting things done on time remains an issue for the government and the country at large. The over $700 million Artisan Village is the first of 5 to be funded by the Tourism Enhancement Fund. The others are slated to be implemented in principal resort towns to include Ocho Rios and Port Antonio.
This Artisan Village is a serious attempt by the government to ensure the diversification of the tourism product.
The Artisan Village is being earmarked as the game changer for tourism. Celine Campbell for CVM News.
Now, the Alligator Head Foundation on Friday hosted its open day in Portland. This year's theme focused on building a climate-smart approach to coral reef conservation in the Caribbean. On the agenda was also to raise awareness about the urgent need to address the impact of climate change and inspire action towards sustainable practices for preserving coral reefs. CVM News spoke with the general manager of the foundation, Nikki Myers.
The Caribbean is home to 10% of the world's corals. Our countries are Haiti, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Jamaica. The Alligator Head Foundation is the implementing partner for Jamaica. And so today is an opportunity for us to continue the conversation as to what the Coral Carib program is, why it is that it's important for us to be paying attention to our corals, and what it is that we are doing about paying attention to our corals.
CVM News at noon continues after this break.
See the thing there, Bridging.
Boss, me not drive no vehicle with no white plate for carry no passenger.
Nah, man, everything, Chris Bridging. The vehicle have registration, fitness, and insurance.
Well, it might have all of that. But what about road license and PPV insurance? Me just want to know say my thing legit. So me not have to play no puss and dog with the law. You get what me say, boss?
Operators of illegal taxis. Under Section 61 of the Road Traffic Act, if you're caught operating illegal public transport, the vehicle may be seized and upon conviction, you could be fined up to $125,000. Further, the owner of the vehicle may be charged for aiding and abetting the offense. Legalize your activities now. A message from the Transport Authority, regulating with vision.
Get ready! The best ever international meet to be staged in Jamaica. The inaugural Jamaica Athletics Invitational, a World Continental Tour Silver with a star-studded cast of international and local stars. Saturday, May 11, 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the National Stadium. Featuring the Olympic champion Hansel Parchment, former world champion Fred Curley, British record holder Darnell Hughes, rising triple jump sensation Jaden Hibbert, Kyron McMaster, and Kristen Coleman, two-time world champion Danielle Williams, former world champion Dina Asher Smith, world record holder Toby Amusa, World Championship medalist Shanika Ricketts, Marie-Jose Talou, St. Lucian Hot Shot, Julian Alfred, Nia Ali, Rochelle Clayton, Kemba Nelson, plus a surprise entertainment package never seen before in Jamaica.
Welcome back to CVM News at noon. It's now time for our discussion segment, and today we're looking at the recent uptick in fights and other conflicts in our schools. These incidents in the past few weeks resulted in at least one student's death. The Mona High School in St. Andrew being closed for 2 days and several students injured and some being charged. Joining me now to dissect these issues and how they affect the teaching and learning process, pedagogy in the island, is the Jamaica Teachers Association President, Leighton Johnson. Welcome again, Mr. Johnson.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I know you're a very busy individual. Stepped away from a conference to have this discussion, but what factors do you believe are contributing to the recent uptick in fights and conflicts within our schools?
Basically, the fact is that there is a serious moral deficit in our country, and on the basis that we have become largely a violent society, this has trickled all the way down into our schools. Our schools represent a microcosm of the society, so what is seen in our society on a whole in general is what is going to be evident in our schools. And unfortunately, our students have not truly learned how to deal with their conflicts amicably without resorting to aggression and violence. This is basically how we operate as a society, and we really have to curtail this as a nation. It has to become everybody's priority in steering our nation back to the place where we are civil, we respect each other, and we operate by the conventions of good conflict resolution mechanisms.
I'm happy you went there, because what are the ways in which teachers and school administrators are addressing the underlying issues that are spurring these conflicts?
The fact is, in many instances, and I can speak categorically, that there are a plethora of measures implemented in our schools. Schools do teach conflict resolution. In many instances, schools have what we call the positive behavior intervention and support. That's an initiative that promotes positive behavior. There are guidance programs. However, what we find is that in many regards, there are students who just fail to adhere to the conventions. Those students who are aligned with two gangs, those students who are aggressive for many reasons. And what needs to happen, one, is that there has to be a deliberate attempt by administrators, by school boards, by the police, to rid our schools of any gang-related activities, students or individuals who are affiliated with gangs. These students pose a threat to the harmony of schools. Teachers, students, members of the community in many respects know who these students are. These students promulgate violence, they are aggressive, and in many instances our students are afraid of them, are afraid to be in their company, are afraid to cross paths with them. And we find where our teachers too are a little apprehensive and timid in dealing with these students. So there has to be that deliberate attempt to rid our schools of these individuals, these students.
When you say rid, can you break down that ridding? Because I want to talk about how teachers are coping amidst these developments, but I also want to understand how best to rid the schools of these problematic students, so to speak.
We have to ensure that we get it clear. I am making reference to those students who are in no way responding to the interventions that the schools are implementing. Those students who are just violence prone, those students who are aggressive in all that they do, those students who are aligned with gangs.
Aligned with gangs?
Yes, schools are not places for gangsters and hoodlums. A school is a space where students are given the opportunity to unearth their talents and their potentials, to grow, to leave certified, to be empowered. This is what schools are. No,
absolutely.
If we find that these schools are being infiltrated by these individuals who are not conforming.
All right, Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry to cut you, but we're up on a quick break. We'll be right back. Just hold those thoughts until we return.
Our days get a little complex sometimes. Often so many things make sense, yet so many do not. We are being intentional about giving prominence to the big stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
Truth is, you can live life to the fullest with HIV. This time signal is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The time is
12:15.
Bollywood has never been this good. Catch Made for Each Other weekdays 1 p.m. on your drama station CVM. Brought to you by
Hyundai. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to CVM News at noon. It's our discussion segment. We have the Jamaica Teachers Association President, Mr. Leighton Johnson, joining us on phone. And we were just talking before the break about the schools being infiltrated by gangs. If these aren't dire straits, then I don't know dire straits. So, Mr. Johnson, welcome back. Please tell us more about this very numbing bit of information.
The fact is, this is not new information. This is something that schools have had to be grappling with for years. Schools have had to be creative. Schools have had to work closely with the security forces to ensure that if measures are implemented to, one, remove these particular students from the institutions. If we do not allow, or if we allow these students to remain in the schools, I guarantee that the cells get bigger. There are other students who are recruited for these gangs. And, you know, the situation gets out of hand.
But it's already out of hand, it would appear, in some of these schools. So what's the way forward? We remove them, and then what? What happens to those children who are extracted from the regular teaching and learning system?
Right. And as an association, the Jamaica Teachers Association has consistently maintained its call that there has to be the establishment of an institution where these students can be removed from the regular school system, placed in these schools that are adequately staffed, properly resourced with the personnel, the human resources to treat with the challenges that these students bring.
I must inject it here. What role, therefore, are the parents playing or not playing that should be played to deter these students from a life of violence and gangsterism? Because I really haven't heard much from parents, and they should be concerned.
You see, we all need to be concerned about this. And this is where we ought to go. Parenting is essential to the growth of any student. And what we find in many regards, studies have shown that 98% of students who are successful are students that had positive parenting, whether a positive mother or father or a grandparent or an aunt and uncle.
Sounds like the village.
who kept them on a particular path. What we need at this juncture is for everybody to be speaking with the same voice. There is this moral deficit that has overrun our country, and we now need to get